showcase where you find stuff down there.
Okay, well, I will add much more room than not. How about that? So yeah,
He did.
Really funny.
He
It's
pulled
like,
some minerals out of there. Donna last night said you should put a sign down there. It was like, "There's who's going to come in here and steal a bunch of shit."
I did, but now, granted, it's just I just needed some. I just needed some redstone, so it wasn't really a big.
Oh
deal.
man, there's acres of redstone in chests everywhere. Like,
Yeah, I found that afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna add more empty space to your room than I took away. So we are live. Welcome to #coffee. We're gonna have a guest on later. Jack's actually gonna come on a little bit later because he wants to actually talk politics, which is gonna be really fun from discussions.
I love it when Corey goes live without telling me, almost as much as he loves puns.
I mean, it's 10. You should kind of assume at this point. Yeah, I'm gonna rock and roll.
You forgot to put AOC in the.
I did
in the title again. Yeah.
Cough. AOC.
Good morning, friends. Please say hi in the comments.
So yeah, here's the title. Chapelle endorses Yang. Kelly believes Bolton or Trump. Cough. AOC mentioned. Safe.
Good morning, everybody. I guess we should share this back to Facebook, unless you did that already.
Yeah, I have not. I'm actually ripping this out on Twitter right now.
Okay, copied that. Share to Facebook, my regular timeline, and then we have one osprey outside our house that's like 3 times normal size. He's just not slightly bigger.
He's like
all the rest of the
wicked crazy bigger.
Freaking like he mated with an eagle, or his parents mated with an eagle. I guess would be more appropriate. But enormous.
He mated with an eagle, and it made him giant.
It made it bigger.
Just that having.
That's how I got fat.
Oh yeah, you fucked a hot predator, and
I made it with a larger person, and this is what happened.
All right, I mean that sounds like science to me.
That's not at all what happened.
You imagine this being like the first show that anyone comes to see from #coffee. They're like, "What the fuck?"
Yes.
What is even going on right now?
All the rules of modern politics and animal husbandry.
Yes, that's the tagline right there. That's the one for the.
I'm beginning to look like a bearded old sage, man. I'm getting like some serious beard power going on.
And honestly, that's exactly
energy.
Yep, that's exactly what the millennials and zillennials on TikTok are looking for these days. I mean, they want that older sage.
Who we don't hear from enough is older white guys. We just don't hear enough from them.
Well, that's everyone says that. I mean, that's like when Cher posted something or other like, "Hey, maybe we should have women in charge or whatever." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's she was pitching a Warren Yang ticket, which I mean, if we have to have one of the current top 3, Warren would be my favorite, and having Yang as VP means that the causes that I am fighting for aggressively that I know need to happen will be go. I think it'd be a really, really good mix, assuming that Yang didn't actually win entirely. But then this, I can't even remember the guy's name, Joseph something or other, comes in. Is like, oh man, this kind of comment is exactly why people are going to vote for Trump. I'm like, motherfucker, sit down. The idea, as white men, we've been, I don't know if you've noticed this. I mean, I think you're a bit of a history buff, but if you look back, it's actually really not that hard to look. We've kind of been running things for checks watch the most of time in the Western culture, right? So the idea, the audacity of the idea that maybe we should try something different. If that offends you enough that you would vote for an imbecilic fucktard like Trump, then I have nothing for you. That proves that you, as a white man, need to sit the fuck down. It just does. It's crazy.
Yep. I always liked when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was asked how many women should be on the Supreme Court. She said 9.
Yeah, all of them.
And they were like, "Don't you think it's a little extreme?" She said, "There's been 9 men on the Supreme Court since its founding."
And scene,
190 years of just 9 men. So
smash,
or however many. I think it was 7 initially, and they increased the number to. I think Andrew Jackson did that, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. And I said I was going to record this, and now I am recording this.
Okay, so, that's good.
There you go.
Recording is good.
So what I want to do is share a little press gaggle that a certain Dave Chappelle had with the press.
Charlie Murphy. Did he mention Charlie Murphy?
I don't know. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. But he's actually, he endorsed Andrew Yang. which is huge. And I think, you know, there's a few things in this election that may end up proving pivotal. And, you know, right now, Yang's polling in the last like 5 weeks, maybe, have literally doubled, right? His polling numbers have only ever gone in one direction, which is really interesting. And then, you know, moving right into to Iowa, and again, you know, we only poll Democrats, we don't poll independents or anybody who's moving over. So there's I think a very good probability that he's going to outperform the polls in Iowa, but we don't know by how much, whether it's 1%.
Yeah, but the question is only how much. It's absolutely he'll overperform the polls for sure.
Right. It does seem that way. And then you have Dave
my friend John Nestler has been tracking polling numbers for like 6 months now, and he has some really spectacularly complex charts and graphs. And today he was complaining because if I have to start putting Yang in these in these charts, so help me, because Yang had been polling so low that he wasn't polling anybody that was like 3%. Now he's like, and I posted back, and this is exactly what Corey and I predicted would happen, that he would poll low, but as more and more people heard the message, he would just be on the steady incline. And that's math.
It's a really common thing in my experience so far in the last like sort of 6 months of paying attention to this closely, is that if an actually open-minded Democrat hears his message, Yang goes immediately to second or first spot for 18 million reasons, right? And generally speaking, the main reason, if that doesn't happen, why that happens is because people are too tribally identified with the candidate that they're in. Quite frankly, I'm mostly looking at Bernie Sanders supporters.
This is fascinating. Jareen says, when it was on an Iowa Yang call last night, didn't know you didn't have to be an Iowan to be a caucus precinct captain.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
What? That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Because you're basically going to like corral things or whatever, right? Because precinct captains for a caucus. And just please, Jareen, explain this however you can, because I don't know how this really works. Because it seems like you're all in a gymnasium and you kind of are making the case for your candidate, and it's freaking rah-rah, and people bodily move from one camp to the next, and that's how they count votes. So am I more or less right about that?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, if you were going to be a precinct captain, like, you know, a cheerleader with a giant voice, I'm flying to Iowa.
Well, I mean, I think you'd have to be there for the actual caucus.
Oh yeah, 100%. You'd have to be in the room.
You know, right? You don't have to be from Iowa. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's.
Man,
I mean, you know, Scott,
a whole bunch of young people getting motivated to go do that.
There are already tons of Yang gang that flew to Iowa to start door knocking.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, like their Twitter feeds are amazing. Like that. Oh, they're taking.
Yeah, and I think that's the factor. That's the factor in the overperforming thing, is that they are on the ground and deeply ingrained now.
Right now, I wish they'd started this 6 months ago, right? Because the teams that were putting precinct captains on the ground, I mean, Buttigieg has been there for a year and a half. They know how this works. They've been working the machine of that for a long time. Bernie Sanders had a lot of organization already from a few years ago. I know Elizabeth Warren has been on the ground for a long time, right? So like making up the organizational ground, I think it's going to be challenging, right? Because it's one thing in a mock, in a mock caucus that they did where Yang did amazingly well. Well, Scott Sands was fucking in the room, right? Scott Sands is not going to be in every room. So I'm glad that they're doing that, and I hope that works aggressively.
I would like to know more about the Iowa caucuses, and my friend Jonathan Hillbrands is working the Steyer campaign in Iowa right now, and so I expect when he comes home, I want to have a deeper. I'd love to have him on the show. I'd love to have him talk about he has had nothing but good things to say about living for the last 8 months in Iowa. You know, he moved out there to take this job.
I remember.
His permanent home is here in Tampa, but I worked with him For Our Future, and he has just been charmed by Iowa. He's absolutely loved being there and the people and the experience. So I really want to have him on when he comes home.
Whoa!
To sort of let him debrief on it. So that'll be cool. What? Whoa! What? Oh, what's happening with Starlink? Is that up and? Happening?
They're probably are they launching them now? That whole thing is so crazy.
They haven't launched them yet. Still looking at them on the body of the orbiter. So, and
yeah, Dave wanted to remove himself from my statistical analysis. I presume that Dave is an anomaly at all times. So just every time I say
that's a compliment.
Anything with a statistical component to it, just presume that Dave Meyers is somewhere on the far afield range of that statistical probability matrix at any time. And also the idea that Yang is not realistic is also painfully unimaginative.
Hey, Jareen's up in the comments with message me if you want to do more. I took extensive notes on the call or no more. So yeah, very, very cool. Thank you, Jareen. We appreciate your that's exactly what we've been asking people to do, is wade into these processes and get yourself involved so you can explain it more clearly, so you can understand it more clearly for yourself, so you can help other people get to the process. It's non-voters that elected Donald J. Trump. And that is our number one problem for this upcoming election, is getting people who don't vote or haven't voted reinvigorated in the process.
Jareen, if you wanted to get really crazy, can you make some TikToks on it? And then
that's a good idea,
right? And then we can share that out to every Yang gang we know and get it all up on Twitter and because I think people would really, really dig that.
Well, hello back, Sailor.
Fine.
Michael Silvestri, hello, my handsome and cavalier fellows.
I mean, show over.
I swatch his buckle. I'll tell you that right now.
Whoa, this just got interesting. Yep. So there's that.
No, that's a ridiculous thing. Yes, Dave Meyers, I've often been described as painfully unimaginative.
Well,
like people who have never seen anything you've ever drawn.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe with the words that come out of your mouth, but yeah, no, that I was trying to be a statistical anomaly by probably being the only person to ever say that anywhere near you. For anyone who doesn't know, Dave Meyers is one of the best artists and illustrators that have ever walked the face of the earth ever. Even though he's wrong about Andrew Yang, he gets one a year. I think he'd be wrong.
Really, really good.
Maybe once. Well, maybe twice since I've met him. And every time he's pessimistic, sadly, I get very sad about it. But he's also rarely wrong about that, which is sad.
Yeah.
The age of Trump.
Hey, Michael Silvestri, you'll find this interesting. Our friend Philip Beckelheimer works at Kennedy Space Center, and he posted some a short set of photos and video this morning of him actually standing outside watching the launch of the Starlink satellite Falcon 9 from SpaceX. It was really cool. It's really cool that I have a high school friend who is over there doing the work, getting the job done, putting stuff in space.
That is righteous.
Yeah.
So you guys cool with me trying to share this little thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am, but I'm, what am I going to say? No.
I mean, you could. I'd cry.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No, don't cry.
All right. Thanks.
Please don't cry.
Okay. All right. Let's make this happen.
Don't forget, use computer audio.
Use computer audio. Heard. And the thing. And the bigger thing. And the play.
I called a friend of mine after the first debates, one of the early debates. I said, I didn't see the debate. I said, who did you like? He said, I like the Chinese guy. I thought he was joking. And he told me about Andrew Yang. It was the first time I heard of him. Months later, when my special was coming out, Andrew posted something on Twitter saying, I like Dave Chapelle, he's one of my favorite comedians. And a bunch of my friends told me about him. I'm like, oh yeah, I heard of this guy. It just so happened that week, one of my neighbors had given me his book. I was on a flight, I read the book, couldn't believe what I read. So I had my wife reach out to his campaign. They vetted me, they called me back, and we ended up meeting in LA before he went to a debate in Long Beach. We were only supposed to meet for a few minutes, but we ended up connecting. We talked for quite some time, and I found him to be something that's real hard to be as a candidate. He was inspiring. His narrative and the courage it took for him to be like the first Asian American to make a real go of a presidential race. And I believed him. I was like, this could happen, this could work, and I love this platform. What do I like about this platform? Okay, I don't know if you guys seen it. There's a movie called American Factory that my neighbors made. The people who made that film live close to me, and the factory that they speak about in the film is not far from my home. And it tells a real important story of what's happening in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Ohio has like a third of the people there living below the poverty line. If you were to take a poll in Dayton and say, what would you rather have, $12,000 a year or health insurance? Everyone's taking the money. Like health insurance is great, but groceries are necessary too. and people in Dayton are having a hard time getting the things they need. I started imagining what a universal basic income would do for my community, and it would save it almost instantly. You know, we recently suffered, you know, mass shootings and all kinds of, everything that happens in the news happens in our backyard in Dayton, the opioid epidemic, all of these things. And I like the idea of giving people choices, putting the money in their hands and giving them the choices. They would consider things that aren't even an option to consider now. And they can do things that aren't an option to do. And that part of this platform I found incredibly exciting. More importantly, you know, you'll hear people say stuff like make America great again. Well, how about make America feel better again? And I think his platform handles a lot of the emotional content of what being an American is like. Being a homemaker, not being under-recognized, or a worker and being under-recognized. The fear of not being able to pay your bills. This would alleviate a lot of the bad feelings in the country almost immediately. And it's something that I think anyone can get behind. It's an important idea, and for some reason I feel like it didn't get the appropriate media coverage. You know, there's a lot of controversies going around this particular election cycle, and I also like Andrew's pragmatism. You know, I don't look at the Trump supporters as my enemy at all. I understand why people vote for Trump. I understand people are desperate, and I think that Andrew's right. You run against the reasons that Trump got elected. You know what I mean? I got friends on both sides of the political aisle. I got fans on both sides of the political aisle. A lot of people say professionally it's not wise to support any candidate, but this idea is so good that I think it should exist. And I think the fountainhead of many of the good ideas on the table this year are coming from a single source, Andrew Yang. And for some reason, no one's paying attention to this guy's the origin of a platform that really does address where I think the country needs to go. It's a good plan. Well, I think that you know, I don't know anything about your caucus process. Like, I've asked locals about it. They say it's like playing musical chairs. But I know it does set the tone for the rest of the election. What I'm trying to do is make people aware of an option that I think is fantastic. I mean, people are always going to do what they want to do. I don't want to be insulting to people and say, oh, I'm a nightclub comedian. That's what I do. I'm not an expert on anything, but I live in Dayton. I understand why this platform is formidable, and I'm supporting it. I really do think it's an important, you know, Martin Luther King came up with a universal basic income. No one's ever run on this before. It's very exciting. I'm very inspired.
Mr. Yang, can you talk about your first meeting with Mr. Chapelle? He was just talking about how you guys spent a long time discussing all of your ideas and how you guys...
It was a thrill to sit down with me. I've been a fan for years. And we bonded over the fact that we're both dads. We both have the same hopes and dreams for the future of this country, that we can improve our own way of life. And Dave's such a profound thinker in so many ways. I mean, I think you're more than a nightclub comedian, just laying it out there, Dave. That it felt like something had brought us together, mainly his wife, actually. Something had brought us together to take this message to the country. And I'm thrilled to have Dave here talking about the ideas of this campaign. I'm thrilled to have Dave associated with the Yang Gang in any form. And sitting down with him was a thrill. Being here today with him is a thrill. Having him come to Iowa to help spread the word is awesome. And it just goes to show what a class act Dave is, what a patriot. He wants what's best for the country. And it's not necessarily the norm for someone of Dave's stature as a celebrity to come and throw down with a political candidate or campaign. And that just speaks to the kind of man Dave is, and I appreciate the hell out of him.
Thank you.
I need to get out there and get on this.
I mean, it's pivotal. But like Andrew Yang projected, like so many experts project, the job market will change so much in the next decade. You know, that it's horrifying. Because in the community I live in, it changed so much in the last decade that I'm old enough that I can see and feel the difference. That we're just not going in a good direction, and people are suffering. Like, you know, you can say any kind of political thing you want, but nobody's going to disagree. Like, people are suffering. I live near it. I've done so well in the last few years. The wealth disparity between me and my neighbors is immense. It's heartbreaking. And if you know that a third of the people up the street can't buy groceries, then you start to feel an imperative of concern. It's not the kind of thing that I would just like in secret and hope for the best. I said, well, I should say something. You know, if people listen to me, so be it. If they don't, so be it. But I know I'm doing my civic duty by just saying the thing that I believe in. This is without irony or punchline. I'm just telling you, this guy's got some great ideas. You should check it out. I think you would probably agree.
Mr. Yang, are you concerned?
Mr. Chapelle, the Yang campaign has been criticized for using Asian stereotypes kind of in a lie. As a comedian, do you think the use of this stereotypes in a sense of humor way lessens the negative effects that it may have?
Potentially. I mean, this is a very broad and philosophical question that I'm not prepared to answer in this context. Potentially, yes. I wouldn't worry about those types of things. I think that people are combing through every statement nowadays to find fault in it. But whatever fault you find in any statement, you can't ignore the virtue or the purpose of what's behind it. And the virtue in this case is that he's literally trying to make life better for millions of people.
Mr. Yang, are you concerned
Are you concerned?
That was
really
a great.
cool.
That was a great redirect. It's like, yeah, no, everyone's combing through all those things, yada 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 yada. But also, he's trying to help millions of people. So, like, context here, please.
Yeah, Chappelle's an interesting cat. He's not just a nightclub comedian. He's a pretty profound thinker.
And I had heard
his kind of humor. Like, you can't make Blind Klansman skits without really understanding where the line in comedy is. You know, and Chappelle's very good at them.
And I'm sure he's been pushing it fairly aggressively, but intelligently for a long time. Yeah, that's I'm a fan. That's cool shit, and not just because he's backing Yang, although.
That's probably makes him cooler.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I really hope that I like. We've been talking for a while about that Yang's path, if there is a viable path. It's exactly what has unfolded, which is, slow build, stay in the fight, make the debate stage every time except the one. And he's met every benchmark. Like, he's met all the benchmarks of a serious candidate, and so now. Less than a week, Corey, from the first caucus / primary. He is viable. You watched it happen in a mock caucus earlier this week where Pete was I'm trying to remember who was Biden was eliminated from viability in the first round of that mock caucus.
Right.
And at the end of the night, it was basically Bernie, Warren, Pete, and Yang were the top four. That's fascinating.
That's incredible, right? Like that's definitely and again, like the organizational deficit is something to be concerned about, I think, in Iowa, although I mean they could pull off some magic there for sure. But even just being in the top,
considering he's a new campaigner,
right?
He's not an Elizabeth Warren, he's not a Bernie Sanders, he's not he's more like Pete. He's someone who's never nationally campaigned before.
But Buttigieg has been organizing in Iowa for a year and a half.
I understand, but I'm saying,
right?
Considering that they've never done this before,
right?
Yang is doing extraordinarily well, so pretty exciting.
I completely agree.
There you go. Donna says Yang is not my favorite, but I wouldn't have to hold my nose to vote for him in the general. That's true. And there are some candidates that I'm seeing this morning video of Mike Bloomberg talking about the hoax of medical marijuana. Come on, man, we're fucking Democrats. Can we be done with the whole drug war nonsense thing?
It's fucking incredible.
Hysteria.
I made a TikTok today because that's something I'm doing. I feel like I have to admit it embarrassingly. But I'm totally digging it. I don't care. Anyway, so I made a TikTok today about the first Bloomberg sticker that I saw in the wild. I actually saw one.
Nice. And what's funny to me is that you were surprised to see one in Miami Beach. I'm like, it's retired wealthy Jewish people heaven where you live right now.
I get and it really is like that. Yeah, there's
a place on US 1 right down there called Wolfie's Deli and Diner. I hope it's still there. I hope Wolfie's is still there. But that's where. There is a Jewish cultural center in North Miami Beach, right where you're living. So why it would surprise you?
No, I wouldn't necessarily have linked those two things to my shame and intellectual deficit, probably, but still,
lots of wealthy New Yorkers. So
yeah. Hey, so we got 14 concurrent viewers and only 4 likes. So apparently 10 of you think that's sad.
Well, they're not maybe wrong, but we would love it if you would at least pretend for a moment to like us and click that like button and share the video back to your other social media feeds.
That would be fantastic.
And this is also the part of the show where we should say we live and die on your donations, so we have to keep ourselves in coffee and internet. So if you would like to contribute, there are several ways to do that, which Corey is going to tell you about because he's better at tracking that stuff than I am.
It's solocal.live/donation, which is now a link in the thing. Or no, it's donate. I'm so good at this. I got the thing wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We would like to make this a paying proposition right now. It is a paying for the materials and tools proposition. That's how we got the paid Zoom chat window where we can talk without pants on side screen like we do, and not have to show up at Starbucks without pants, which caused a lot of problems the one time I did it. One time I show up without pants and they were mad as hell.
And for sure, don't feel like you have to donate or subscribe. It's just really, really cool if you want to support us. That's fantastic.
Yep. It's a thumbs up. It should be a thumbs up right under your picture, Deb, if you're not in full screen mode. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Please don't hit the thumbs down. Please don't dislike us. That would be even
Mom can't see the like button. That's interesting.
Huh. Interesting.
I don't know what it looks like on a phone. Let's find out what it looks like on a phone. Although she's got an iPhone.
Oh, she's watching on a phone.
I'm assuming that she's watching on a phone. I don't really know.
Her. He makes the villager noise. Her.
All right.
A little Minecraft obsessed.
Yeah, it's where we live. I guess we should probably also, while I'm testing this situation out here. There we go. Church on Sundays.
Church of Reason.
We're doing that. That's happening.
Oh, Jane says you have to close the chat to see it.
Oh, you have to close it. Okay. Oh, there's a little.
I can see it with the chat open. But
so there's a little. There's a little X right above the chat, so I close that. Oh, and then there's a little like. Boom. Oh, I'd already said I liked it.
Dave says there's no thumbs up, thumbs down in mobile interface. Huh.
No, I'm in a mobile. So basically, okay, if you click on the video and you're in the video, and it shows the chat, how do I get it to do that again?
No.
We're so good at this.
Sherry Bernie says if you're on your phone and have the chat option open, you can't see the like buttons. You have to close the live chat.
Yeah, and so on the top banner of the live chat, top chat, 13 people watching, there's an X on that line. Just hit that, and then the like button shows up. Sherry in for the save again.
So today in impeachment news, we get to the question period where alternating senators are going to be able to ask questions of the House managers and the defense counsel. And that's interesting. Oh, Deb, yes, it worked. Thank you. Hey, look at all those likes. Man, you guys are too awesome. You actually had to make an effort to like our video, which impresses me.
Seriously, that's like it is now officially clear that we are loved.
12 of 13 people have liked this video.
It's pretty good.
Okay, Corey, did you hit the like button?
It actually started out as liked because I am in as coffee lab, so
yeah, Heather, I found it and my way back to chat.
Oh, I was trying to find out how to do it, and so there's the thumbs up and the thumbs down. Thank you, no one, for putting the thumbs down. Although Dave Myers, really, if you'd have done it, I would be okay with it. Just because it would be really funny. And the live chat is right next to it, so you click on that, and then the live chat comes right back.
Nice.
You can tell we've been on YouTube. Yeah,
Heather. Honestly, we're learning it too. We are learning it as well as
we have no idea.
We just played a clip and we didn't get shut down, so that's a good thing.
Yet. Well, and I mean they may stop it afterwards. So I am actually recording this locally. So if they do that, I can chop that part out and still upload the show.
Oh, they caught a fairing.
What? Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they did. I'm watching a live shot of the ship right now.
Hey, can you rewind the video and share it?
I don't think I can. It's a live stream.
You can still rewind you can rewind the live stream.
Can you? Let's go back a bit. Let's see. Well, I think they just cut to it sitting in the basket. So I'm not sure exactly where the event is here. Yeah, it looks like they just went right to the shot of it sitting. Now look at the sea state out there. They landed the rocket on a barge. That's no joke. That looks like 8 to 10 foot swells to me. So that deck pitching up and down, they managed to catch land the rocket on its butt again today, which never gets old for me. So what you're watching is a fairing from the forward assembly part of the spacecraft that is launching all the Starlink satellites this morning, and they caught it out in the ocean. That's a reusable part. That's a thing that used to just
center.
It kind of looks like it. It's pretty cool. I'll
Like,
say the thing is rocking and rolling up there. Yeesh.
What the hell?
I mean, it looks like a toy, but that's about the size of an SUV.
No, Greg, much bigger.
Yeah, I guess so. Huh?
Yeah, no, those fairings
Size
are
of a
like
2-car garage.
no, probably like 6 rows of SUVs. Like like 2 rows of 6 SUVs.
I'm looking to see if I can see any crewmen for scale, but I imagine nobody is wandering around on the deck underneath.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be allowed.
Would be dangerous. So I guess what they'll do is retract it, pull in the cranes together at the top, and that way they've got it secured to bring it back. That is really, really cool. So the 2 ships they're using for this process are called Mischief and I can't remember the other one. Mistake. I can't remember. They're puns, which goes swimmingly well.
God damn it.
Yeah, so like the name of the ship that catches the barges. Of course, I Still Love You, because they had to remove its computer brain and replace it at some point. They decided that was an important thing for them to do, is make a joke about that. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so here we are on the internet watching rocket stuff happen.
Okay, so I was probably a little bit off. So each fairing is the size of the largest city bus.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty large.
Yeah, it's not small.
Right? I can't imagine anyone on deck when the SUV from space is hurtling towards the boat. I'm telling you, man. This is a completely unrelated story, but it's funny in a only things that could happen on the Gulf Coast of Florida kind of way. I can't name these people, but I know a guy who one time was in the business of going offshore in a 26-foot sport fishing boat, and an airplane would fly over, and it would drop bales of pot out for them to pick up out of the sea and bring back to shore and distribute.
Awesome.
Now, this is at a time when pot was brought here from Mexico, it compressed into brick form. So, a bale of marijuana weighed 500 pounds. They were really heavy. And so they had done this like dozens of times. They're 110 miles offshore in their 28-foot boat. And the plane flies over and starts, like you see the bales coming down. One of them hit the transom of the boat, and it cracked the transom, and they sank. So they had to call the Coast Guard for rescue. And so the Coast Guard goes out, they're in the boat. There's 80 bales of weed floating around. They're like, oh, we don't know what happened. We were just out here fishing, and shit started falling. I always love that story because it's like, yeah, I can imagine standing in that boat and going, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. That's a bang. That would not be a cool feeling. And then to sink in 110 feet of water out here, lots of big sharks, lots of big gnarly sharks out that far.
No.
Yeah.
So the fairings are 14 meters long, to be super specific.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like 14 hogsheads. So that's pretty big.
What?
It's a imperial measurement thing instead of.
Okay, that's funny.
Never mind. It's a metric system joke.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was thinking this morning, like when they do the re-entry burn for the first stage that they bring down and land on its ass on the barge, the slow down burn slows it down from like 12,000 miles an hour to slows it all the way down to 1,200 miles an hour. Holy, yes,
it's under a wing.
Really?
Yeah, check this out. Hold on.
Yeah, please. We were just talking about this the other day, how they were doing this.
Look at this. That's a wing.
Square parachute. Yep. Steerable, what they call a non-rigid wing parachute. That's really cool. That's the thing. Like how much do those things cost every time, right?
Right. This is the all the satellites packed in. Those are all like that's 60 desk size. Fuck off. Satellites. This is what the boat looks like.
Nice. Yeah, there are two of them, Mischief, and I can't remember the other one, but they're both puns.
That looks like a really fast boat too.
I would have called her Misnomer. I don't know why. Because I'm a nerd. Because I'm a giant nerd. Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway. Yep.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah, I was reading that, but yeah. All right, we interrupt the show to read. How exciting for all of you.
Yeah, we're just gonna do some research while we're on the show because that's what we do. Yeah, Sylvester just so what's the shit I'm hearing about the Perez loading the DNC with nominees that are enemies of the progressives? We know where that got us last time, Wasserman and Donna Brazil and stuff. So
why am I not seeing that comment?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I don't know. I hadn't actually seen that, Sylvester. I do know that. I mean, I've been watching Tom Perez really closely as far as how he was going to do this stuff. And while there have been some fuck ups and perceived fingers on the scale, I honestly think that there was a good faith effort to create an environment that would solve the problems that we faced in 2015 with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Now, I think there's new problems, and the solutions that they had and the way that they got implemented were not perfect, as evidenced by the fact that you need certain levels of polling to get on the debate stage, and then what happens if nobody does any polling over the Christmas holidays, right? That's why Yang missed the last debate. But they're not responsible. The DNC is not responsible for doing polls on their own, so they couldn't actually do anything about it. So I was like, it's a big thing that got, of course, blown out of proportion the way that all of these things will. So I don't know. I haven't seen much of it. And honestly, I'm not sure any of it will matter if Andrew Yang wins.
I would also say that, and we talk about this particular podcast set a lot, but if you are having trouble believing that the DNC is working to change things for the better in their process, go get to the internet machine and listen to the first season of The Wilderness, because Tom Perez was a central part of that podcast. And the meat of the podcast set is, why are we here? Why are we losing legislative seats in elections at this rate, and how do we come back from it? So John Favreau from Pod Save America did a whole bunch of interviews and deep dives and what's the word I'm looking for? Focus groups with actual voters to find out why they felt the way they did. And a whole lot of strategists show up to talk about what they know they got wrong in 2015, 2016, and how we come back from that. And Tom Perez made a really good case for the kinds of changes we've seen. He said a lot of things in that podcast that we've now seen the DNC do to try and, I don't want to say level the playing field, but to make the process more fair and more open. And that's why we have had 19 or 20 candidates, and a bunch of them are super progressive, because the DNC has definitely recognized that, we progressives are under the tent as well.
I think that's right.
So
I hope that's bullshit, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think he's a good DNC chair. Yeah, we'll see. It may be true, but again, we're going to hear a lot of sour grapes from Bernie supporters. And at some point, they got to do some self-examination about why their candidate continues to not win
yeah, I mean, honestly, I think
presidential elections.
There's a really good chance that Bernie's going to win Iowa. Let's put that out there right now. They've got.
That's cool.
Yeah, Mom.
Trump says Bolton's book is classified, and it's not true. Why is untrue info classified? Yeah, it's not. I mean, it is, but
I think two of my favorite things about this: A, they're not actually going to assert privilege if pressed. Because then any court's going to have to decide whether or not fraud or crime applies, and it does, so they won't do it, right? But also, the fact that he's talking about Bolton at all means that they can't exert privilege on it.
Right. Him talking out loud about Bolton means no privilege.
Already waived it. So, it's time, especially around Bolton, for the Democrats to launch. Interesting enough, I was listening to Rachel this morning, and Schiff was on there. And Rachel asked them about what their strategy is, if they try and block Bolton from testifying or whatever. And Schiff said something I don't know that I've ever heard him say before. He's like, actually, we're not going to get into strategies or contingent strategies around how we're going to do that. I'm like, oh, cards are a little close to the vest on this one. Okay. Yeah, Dave Myers, I don't mind Bernie. I'm with you there.
Yeah, this is a thing for me that came up yesterday. listen, think about where we are. We're getting excited and begging for one fucking witness to be admitted here.
Yep.
What the hell is wrong with us as a people? That this is the bargaining point? Oh, please let us have John Bolton, please.
Yeah, John Bolton.
Fuck right off.
No, somebody.
I want Ivanovich to testify before the Senate. I want Sondland to come testify before the Senate. All.
I want fucking Donald Trump to testify in front of the Senate. Okay?
Yeah.
That would be a shit show.
Yeah, they did. There was some deck stacking. That's true. And we can admit that. But that was 2015. And this is my point about Tom Perez. He's made some changes. I understand that they're sour about what happened, but that doesn't mean that that's what's still happening.
Well,
right?
and specifically around Bernie, I mean, they solved the problems that got in his way, and he's in the lead now. Right. I mean, that's, but throwing the entire, like being on a hair trigger to automatically presume the DNC is at fault, I think is also an issue. And I think this probably comes for the fact, and Greg, I'm glad you brought up The Wilderness. You and I both listened to it. And I think that's probably why we're giving Tom Perez a break. Right. Because it seemed extremely credible to me, listening to all the things he said he wanted to do and why he wanted to do them. And that's exactly what they have done.
And it wasn't just him. There were many activists who knew that there were changes the DNC needed to make to increase viability of candidates that were not as well known. So, Sherry B, I'm afraid for the witness vote because I think they will vote to allow witnesses, but I think they'll only allow the Bidens.
Fine.
I'm not.
Here's the thing. If they get the Bidens, they'll get Bolton because McConnell and Greg, you were telling me about this last night. McConnell already is admitting behind closed doors that he doesn't have the votes to stop getting witnesses, right? I mean, if they get Biden,
there was some speculation last night that may be a tactic on his part. That may be him trying to scare people into voting.
But it seems really plausible to me that there's 4 Republicans that want to see witnesses, and maybe not want, but realize if they don't hear from Bolton, Bolton's book comes out, their reelection is fucked. Right. I mean,
I also wanted to add, I saw a screenshot last night of Lou Dobbs' show because I would never in a million years watch fucking Lou Dobbs on Fox.
Well played.
But it was a picture of Bolton with the caption "leftist tool." I'm like, dude,
on TikTok
Bolton
last night,
is a leftist tool. Are you
my god,
fucking kidding me? So he's the most non-leftist.
It's what they do though, right? But so that I did a 3 headlines thing on TikTok where I basically list off 3 things that are brutal for Trump, including Bolton or whatever. But I always tag it with hashtag 2020. And on TikTok, organic reach is nuts. So I got washed with actual Trump supporters. And one of them literally said, "Oh, Bolton's just another liberal savior, and you're just going to move on to the next one after him." I'm like, let's just stop for a minute and just have a good laugh about the fact that you just called John Bolton a liberal savior.
Two other things happened last night that are kind of happening in the background because we're all watching the big shiny thing on TV. But American Oversight, a nonprofit group of lawyers and do-gooders, have been bombarding the courts with Freedom of Information Act requests on all the documents the House couldn't get. Now, think about that for a minute. Stuff Congress, even with their power, could not get because the president is stonewalling. This small group of plucky warriors for good have been requesting and getting enormous document drops related to these things. And the document drop from last night is all stuff from the Department of Energy. That is Rick Perry. And Rick Perry plays into this because energy policy, gas companies, Ukraine. So it'll be interesting to see that. And the other little thing was, like you're right, Sherry. From what I understand, though, is that they'll be voting whether to allow each individual witness. I could be wrong on that. No, I think you're right on that. I think that they will vote generally to vote on witnesses and then vote on them. But here's another thing that I saw last night that's sort of happening. We're not talking enough about it, I think. I don't just mean us, I mean all of us, is that John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, can decide himself whether to allow a witness. He doesn't need a vote. He can actually decide as the person presiding over the trial, no, that's a relevant witness and we will hear from them. Or that's an irrelevant witness and we won't hear from them. So he could actually make a command decision not to allow Hunter Biden because none of that is relevant to what's happening with Trump.
But he could, well, and the thing is, I don't care if they do. Right? Like that, you want to bring Biden on and talk about, think about this in real terms, right? what you're gonna do is bring Biden's son on, right, and talk about nepotism for fucking 4 hours. Fucking go ahead, right? Like, definitely do that, and put Ivanka and fucking Don Jr. and fucking Jared in the room when you do it.
Right.
Like, burn them all. I don't give a shit.
Sylvester says he can be overruled if McConnell has the votes. That's the thing. It would require a 2/3 majority to overrule the Chief Justice.
I don't think it actually takes a. I think it takes a straight.
It takes 2/3.
Are you serious?
It's 2/3 to over. Yes, it's 2/3 to overrule the presiding justice.
And honestly, I don't even think you get 51 people trying.
So I think that's.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, no. If that's coming from Lawrence Tribe, I'm sure it's believable. But that's
that would not look very good if they overruled the Chief Justice.
Right. That's the thing. That, like, I think it would be. It's one thing to vote against having a witness on a standalone thing. It's quite another, even if it was just a simple majority, to vote against the Supreme Court justice to make sure that you're doing the president's bidding in a cover up.
Right.
Damn, Daniel.
It's gonna make some great campaign ads.
Yeah, Mom said, and Greg, you were talking about this too. I think RNC Steele said, ex-RNC Steele said this morning he believes McConnell knows he has the votes to bar witnesses. Pun intended. Ash Gallagher's in the room. Hello, FOIA can be amazing.
Hey, good morning, Ash. I'm not seeing comments from these people.
I don't know. I don't know what your problem is.
I get Silvestri back now, but I haven't seen a comment from Ash.
That's crazy. My God, you're kidding. Listen to this. Thank you, Silvestri. Rudy Giuliani's son is employed by the White House to be liaison for Sports Illustrated, getting paid.
No, it's for sports policy.
Who cares? $95,000 a year.
Yeah, sports liaison.
Oh, yeah, and the Children of Bar. Yeah, do it. So, yeah. Like, if you want to have the nepotism conversation, guess how many Democrats are for that? Almost all of them.
Do you think Giuliani is aware that his wife had an affair with Gary Busey at some point? Have you seen a picture of the kid?
No. Really?
He looks more like Gary Busey than Eric Trump does.
Oh, God, that's funny.
Yeah. So I think somebody should be interviewing Gary Busey about what he was doing in the 90s. Because
Gary Busey's just slutting his way through every single highfalutin party in the 90s. I believe it.
Yes.
I believe that.
I can actually, that's not hard for me to believe at all.
That's not a stretch even remotely.
Yeah. I loved his scenery chewing role in Lethal Weapon, the Mel Gibson Danny Glover movie. Or I guess it was Lethal Weapon 2 he was in. He was such a scenery chewing badass in that movie.
Yeah.
Hi, Greg. This is just for you. Hey, thanks, Ash. I don't know why I didn't see your earlier comment. Oh, no, there it is now. Okay. Please hold.
Everything's working now.
I need some more coffee.
Yeah, Mom said, I think if Bolton is not allowed to testify, he'll immediately do an interview with someone like Wallace. Having Bolton do well, and I mean,
OMFG, Julie Busey. I gotta find a picture of him now.
Oh no,
I gotta see. Yeah, you gotta see this.
That's crazy.
Giuliani's son. Let's see if that. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not wrong. Let's see. How do I share this? I gotta blow it up, and I hit the share button, and you guys should be able to see my my Google search. But thankfully, not my entire Google search history, because that would just be weird. All right, there we go. Does he not look like Gary Busey?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's a thing. Yep, there you go.
Oh Jesus!
Good luck getting that out of your head. Good luck getting rid of that image.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Bring Hunter Biden in, and then bring every one of those last freaking useless kids into the room when you're doing it. And honestly,
Tareen says just show up in Tulsa and you could find him sitting in on drums. Gary Busey apparently.
I did not know
drums.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And like honestly, you want to bring Biden in? Bring Biden in. Do it. Because one of two things is going to happen. Like either. I mean, like he's basically just going to go in there and blow up all of their conspiracy theories, because there's really credible, actual written down evidence that he was actually doing, actual America policy work while he was there, right? And for good reason. And yeah, talked about it, yada yada yada, right? And to the extent that he was even connected with Hunter's position at Burisma, if that burns Biden, oh, no, I mean, like,
yeah, so
something is going to burn. Like it might as well be what takes Trump down.
One of the things that bothers me about that is that this whole thing was because Trump was trying to damage Biden's presidential run in 2020.
I get it.
So mission accomplished.
Well,
Why
no,
would he not
but
do this again?
He could come in and do what Hillary Clinton did when they kept trying to do this to her and sit there for freaking 13 hours and weather the storm like an absolute super champ. And win.
Do you really think Joe Biden has that in his character and makeup? I don't.
That's a good point. He's definitely not Hillary Clinton. Never mind. Take your point. I take all that back. Yeah, no, that's a good point. There's no way he could sit through 20 minutes of conversation without fucking up.
There was something else that was on my mind about the witness thing, and I'm sure it'll come back to me after we're off the air. That's usually how that works. No, I would like to hear from Hunter and Joe Biden, and I don't know why what I don't want is any deal making for that. Like, we'll give you Bolton if you give us, but no, fuck,
because there's no point. They can call whoever they want right now.
This is what it is. There's two things. One, McConnell has the votes right now to call any witness he wants. If he decided specifically to call Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, they have the votes right now. That.
Of course.
So why isn't he?
Because they
so
want
that's a question that begs a good answer that doesn't look bad for the president. And the truth is, any of these answers are going to look bad for the president. Hey, there's Jock. And the other thing is, like, one of the places that the Trump defense falls down is this idea that they were fighting corruption and focused on Burisma because it's good for America. Then why wasn't the State Department doing this? Right? We have diplomats. We have a whole system of investigative processes that don't involve an out-of-pocket attorney. And what this looks like to me is, like, we think of the Director of National Intelligence, like Dan Coates is the most recent holder of that office, as, like, it's the central collection point for all of our intelligence gathering systems that report to the president. I will never stop reminding people that the DNI is not an old position. It was created in the Bush Jr. In the George W. Bush administration to go around having direct CIA briefings of the president, because they were hearing things that they didn't want to hear. So what they did is created a side channel, went around 40 years of process for intelligence gathering and dissemination to the president for decision making by creating a new department and a new office, so that the CIA director didn't have direct access to the president anymore unless the president requested it. So CIA analysts would write up these great reports about there is no yellow cake uranium, right? And they would send them up through channels. No, that's a debunked story. That's not actually happening. And they created the DNI office so that they could go around that process. What does that sound like? It's exactly what Trump has done with Giuliani and this, involving Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman and Rudy Giuliani. Those are not government officials. They're not negotiating on behalf of the American people. Right. That's the promise that you make when you sign on the line and swear an oath as an office, as a government employee. So there's none of that process, and I can't believe that people are okay with that. Would you go to a doctor that actually didn't have the credentials to be a fucking doctor? No, you would not.
Well,
would
apparently,
you go to a technical that you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you go to a cybersecurity expert? That was at a company run by fucking Giuliani.
Yeah.
Isn't Giuliani still head of cyber? Some ridiculous, like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, he's the cybersecurity czar.
Or something. The name of the.
No, that's fraud. Yeah, fraud guarantee is the Fruman and Lev Parnas thing. Which again,
but they just forgot the D. Fraud guaranteed should have been the name.
It's implied. The D is silent. Anyway, so we want to have Jacques on again today to talk a little bit of politics, and we're going to announce a meme-making competition here at Triple Base Camp for discussions. But yeah, so Jacques been in the comments before. Jacques, like, what is your take? Like, you're over in Portugal. What did you call it? Spain, spleen, or something like that?
Appendix of Spain.
Appendix. Sorry. The appendix of Spain. As an expat American, obviously, you're far enough away that you probably can't hear the dumb things that Trump says as loudly as we can, and for that I'm extremely jealous. But what's your take, like, just a 30,000-foot view take of the impeachment stuff going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, being away from New York, which is kind of one of the epicenters of all this happening, is definitely a blessing, because it gets tiring after a while, listening to all this heated rhetoric that doesn't really, it just makes people like angry and sad and stuff. But
can confirm.
From the overseas view, it's kind of people see it as like the United States going like it's being corrupted from the inside, And they're really surprised because obviously we have Obama just before Trump. And we kind of did this 180 that people didn't expect. You know, with Obama, like he was well loved. The international community, you know, respected this person. He was very diplomatic. He's very well spoken. And you have someone like Trump, who obviously don't really care about like the partnerships that in Europe and elsewhere. And I mean, to any blind person could tell that he done the investigation. He wants the investigation for his own benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just kind of throw their hands up, and just kind of the attitude I adopted as well. It's like, well, I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's like, what are you guys doing over there? Yeah,
that's literally the entire time I was living in Canada, looking south during the Bush administration. I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
I lived in Canada, and I used to get asked that. People would find out, what the hell is wrong with you people? Why? And I like defensively started carrying a picture of Stephen Harper, the then Prime Minister of Canada, in my pocket. You know, like, you explain this, and I'll explain George W. Bush. You know,
I know.
Your Prime Minister is just as much of a conservative jackass as ours. He just doesn't have a lot of nuclear missiles to chuck around. That's basically the difference. So
Sad. Yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far, but he definitely was too much like Bush for us to really get away with it scot clean. That's for sure.
Oh, come on. He completely signed on to the drug war. Completely signed on to extraditing Americans.
You know what he didn't sign on to? Murdering 2 million Iraqis.
No, that's not true. There were Canadians there.
In Iraq?
Yes.
No,
absolutely.
they were in Afghanistan. They were not in Iraq.
I'll have to check that.
Yeah, you can Google that at your leisure.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks for coming on, Jacques. Where now me and Greg will just fucking fight like crazy. Anyway, so that's usually just how it goes. So what else is going on in the news today?
Your mom, Deb, posted Schiff has invited Parnas and his lawyer to the afternoon Senate hearing. Can't take electronics in. But they have tickets to attend the question session.
Yeah, but a judge ruled Parnas can't remove his ankle monitor to attend, so he can't come.
Oh, well, it would be interesting to have him just in.
It would be great to have him in there. Yeah, before you got on, we were talking about the fact that the Republicans might call Biden and Hunter Biden.
You know what? I actually have a thought on that. I think, like, obviously it's a very politically motivated thing, but
yeah,
I think, one of the reasons I'm not voting for Joe Biden, I know maybe if he's like the only choice, then yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not my preferred candidate because as a leader of the Democratic Party, sure, there might be voters who are like, we don't care about all the things like, the trade deals and whatnot. But as a leader of the Democrats, I think the classy thing he could have done was, you know what, all these senators are in Washington doing their important job of, making sure that this president doesn't go rogue. I'm gonna suspend my campaign the same days that they're in Washington, D.C. That would be like a real show of leadership, right? That would be like, okay, I respect that. And that would be like, okay, he is leading the charge. He doesn't have to do it, but he's leading the charge. Now, whether or not he actually should go testify, I think that there is a really good argument that he should just call their bluff on it. And I can't believe the fact that he said that he will not testify even if the Senate subpoena him.
That's where it broke down for me too. Like the idea,
that's not good,
right? Where his initial instantaneous reaction was, no, I'm going to defy that subpoena. I'm like, are you drunk? What's wrong with you?
You're fighting against. That's literally Article 2 of the impeachment.
That's the whole point.
You're not helping this cause at all.
Oh. That was painful. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the nepotism too, right? And again, there's a very good possibility that he didn't actually even have anything to do with his son's position at Burisma. Apparently, his son just kind of does shit like this all over the world, but he's playing off his dad's name, obviously. All right, so that who knows what's really going on there. But if you're going to have Biden in and come in and either one of them and talk about nepotism, then you have to have Ivanka in there. You have to have Jared in there. You have to have Bill Barr's kid. Bill Barr's kid is currently working at the White House. And we might have to put this up again. Giuliani has a son that is like the sports liaison for the White House, making $95,000 a year, sitting around talking about sports in the White House. But we're pretty sure that Gary Busey fucked his mom.
That's a long web of connections I did not expect.
Yeah. We're
We got to see it again.
Yeah, we got to pull the picture back up again because it's an image that I'm sorry that I'm about to put this image in your head, but not sorry enough not to do it.
Let's see. You're looking for the same one again. There you go. Hit the share button, Greg. Come on, get your technical crap together here. There we go. Yeah. We definitely think Gary Busey has been hanging out at parties with Giuliani. At least with Giuliani's wife. We don't know. One of.
As if that's not Gary Busey's kid. Come on now.
I mean, I'm thinking back to Gary Busey as a young actor.
Fun.
This looks exactly like him.
I'm telling you right now, that is ridiculous.
Craziness.
Anyway,
yeah. So that's the important kind of things we talk about here on our show.
Yeah, we're fucking classy as hell.
Hard hitting, journalistically pure.
Oh,
Silvestri says when we were in London this past November, people would ask us, "Oh, are you a Trump supporter?" And I responded with, "Oh, are you a Boris Johnson supporter? If not, then we can talk."
Nice, well played, well played.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Bernie actually leading in polls?
But what?
That Bernie's actually leading. He's.
So, I mean, every single one of the candidates. I mean, he's only right now, if I'm not mistaken, he's only really leading in Iowa, right? Mm-hmm. Nationally, Biden is still leading, and I think to me that that whole percentage up at the top is entirely game to just be stolen by Andrew Yang. So I'm excited about that. So, I mean, the organizational, we were talking about this before too, the organizational capacity that I mean, our revolution, for example, the core group of people that were working for Bernie Sanders in 2015, 2016 never stopped, right? Like we know people that were working with our revolution the day after the election finished to start, planning for Bernie's run in Iowa and everywhere else. Right. So I'm not really surprised by that. But I don't think it's going to last, right? Like the other candidates have all kind of peaked and then sort of fallen off, right? Buttigieg probably the most dramatically, but Warren as well. Like Warren was doing a lot better than she was before, and then the press starts getting vicious, which is kind of that whole cycle or whatever. So what's going to happen is after, in my humble opinion, and this is probably a lot of wishful thinking on my part, but there's some reasons why I think this way. Yang's polling over the last 5 weeks has literally doubled, right? 3 to 4% to 7 to 8%. There's a non-zero probability that that's going to happen again, and that we could be in the 10 to 15% range or even 20% range of delegates coming out of Iowa. The main reason why people aren't voting for him statistically, Dave Myers, I'm not talking about you, is that they don't think that he's a viable candidate because he's polling too low, right? Like the whole electability argument, which again, it's not that good. Of an argument, just statistically, that argument never seems to work out. So you could be in the situation where, Bernie seems to be peaking now, but the second that Andrew Yang proves himself to be a viable candidate, by the time that Dave Chapelle and Andrew Yang are running giant freaking events in South Carolina, the race could be blown wide open. We just don't know, and until the voting starts, we don't know, right? Like we have no idea.
To be honest, I mean, I actually knocked on doors for Bernie. Like I was a big Bernie supporter back in 2016.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, really? Nice. So I'm still kind of, I wouldn't say I'm undecided. I'm actually definitely leaning towards the Yang momentum a little bit more. But like taking a look back now and seeing like how Bernie has evolved during this campaigning process, I feel like he's going further and further left to the point where it's starting to become uncomfortable, because like he said, I think the other day, he's like, okay, well, we're gonna have universal healthcare and we're gonna provide free internet access to everyone in America.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Well, the free healthcare I get, right? It's at least you don't want people dying on the streets.
Yeah.
The internet access, like there is already a lot of private competition for that. Like that's not a really heavily regulated industry.
Yeah.
So there could be like, with
you could Google wanted to actually do that in every single major city in the country, and the FCC wouldn't let them do it.
No, I didn't. The Google Fiber did.
Google wanted to give everybody in the United States, like in every single major market, free, like basic internet, but free internet. And the FCC said no way, because again, there's a lot of companies that are that are competing for it. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely soured on Bernie Sanders from this time to last time, comparatively speaking. And for me, it's actually more about, watching Bernie Sanders supporters and people like, the people on the Majority Report that I have been listening to for 4 or 5 years, right? Look at UBI, which a year ago, Bernie Sanders was tacitly for, right? And say that it's a Trojan horse to make, capitalism win. I'm like, what does that mean? Right? Like you're going to.
Yeah. If it's going to make capitalism win, but it's going to make the kind of capitalism that's good for everybody win. So
right. That's the thing. Like, what are you saying, that true socialism should win? Because if so,
right,
all the way off. Like, that's not what we're supposed to be.
Like, yeah, human powered capitalism, as Andrew Yang describes it, is exactly. I mean, that's probably the best possible hybrid of systems. A system that creates a strong economy and benefits the most people all the way down. That's exactly that's exactly what it is. And like watching Dave Chappelle say in that thing that he watched, when he thought about how transformative $1,000 a month, UBI would be to his community in Dayton, where a third of the people are below the poverty line. Our county, it's half of the people in our county are living below the ALICE score, asset limited, income constrained, employed, which is a sobering, devastating number. Half of my county of 500,000 people, that's 250,000 adults that are living below that line. It would be remarkable. Just in my zip code, it would be something like $48 million a month. It's crazy. $4.8 million a month. I don't know. It's a lot. And that means every bartender, every waiter, every tile layer, every minimum wage employee that works at Burger King would be able to buy themselves stuff. And guess where they're going to buy that stuff? Local merchants. They're going to be shopping and eating locally. It would be, we don't have industry where we live. We used to have a citrus agriculture industry. We used to have some commercial fishing. All that's gone. What we have is old people. We don't even have tourism because we're between Orlando and Tampa. Right. So we don't even have, we're the place you're going to drive all the way to Tampa rather than stop overnight. You know what I mean? There's we just don't have any local economy, no economic generators here. So it would be remarkably transformative. And that's why I think it's a spectacularly good idea. And I'm loving watching it move into the Overton window from a fringe idea 5 years ago when Corey started talking about it. Like, well, here's Corey, Star Trek economy. Corey's going to lose his mind again. And watching it, actually have viability is pretty freaking cool. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing, the talking about universal healthcare, obviously I'm strictly for that. I think it's a lot more complicated in practice transforming to that here than it would, because in Canada we've had it for a long time, so it's a lot easier to do. But Bernie Sanders supporters constantly, up to and including, again, like Sam Stein on the Majority Report, they're constantly asking for, how do you pay for it? 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 The VAT is regressive, which is the dumbest, mathematically incorrect thing that you can say when it's coupled with the UBI. It's just ridiculous. And then you ask them, okay, well, how is Bernie Sanders going to pay for universal healthcare? I don't know. He literally doesn't even say. Like, he doesn't even pretend to say. Liz Warren's plan has a payment scheme attached, right? But and honestly, this is Obama's fault. Like, let's get it real clear right up front. Obama figured out real quick. You say the word change a lot, right? You say very, very inspiring things, which, let's face facts, Obama was very good at and credible even to this day. And then when people ask you for the details, you're like, no, it's going to be good. Right? He was awesome at that. Now, Bernie Sanders is not. And the fact that people can level the whole socialist thing at him, and again, they're going to level it at all of us regardless, right? But the fact that they can level it, at him 1% more credibly, it's going to be, a tough hill to row, I think.
I'm
kind of go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
No, it's just this is thought. If Bernie actually becomes a Democratic party candidate, I think we are gonna be even more polarized, because I think most Trump supporters are not gonna vote for Bernie.
Here's where that's messed up. Yeah. The polling actually suggests that the most overlap between the two sectors for the large candidates is Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump supporters.
Oh,
yeah? Yep. Yeah, okay. It disaffected white males. I mean, not to put an economic racial capacity on it, but that's where a lot of that stuff, a lot of the energy comes from. And obviously it's a lot more complex than that. but there's actually a ton of overlap. And the only person in the primaries who has more overlap is Yang, who has, interestingly enough, way more overlap, which is really, really messed up.
Yeah.
And so then if we strip it down to just this simple comparison, Andrew Yang has better ideas and is 40 years younger than Bernie Sanders, and without all the socialist baggage.
That's exactly it.
Frankly,
right? Call him a socialist, and you just look like an idiot.
Right, because he's not.
Well, and he's conservatives love the UBI. Like this is, it will never stop blowing my mind.
Americans love the UBI. I mean,
right.
The whole cryptocurrency community has been pushing like this idea of UBI for a very long time as well. Like I thought it was a crazy idea when I first heard it. Like you just gotta hand people.
Me too. It's crazy. Like I heard Scott said,
I think the thing that I don't want to say convinced me, but one of there are examples of it in action that we can take a great lesson from, and one of them is the state of Alaska, which pays every man, woman, and child oil revenue every year because of the deals they made for the Alaska pipeline and the drilling capacity. So we have a UBI system that works in this country and has made the people of a particular state wealthier than they were before it happened. That's a 30, 40-year example now. We've been paying dividends to Alaskan citizens out of oil revenue for a long time. And they're really happy about it. Go ask them if they want to give up whatever their oil revenue check is every year. They don't.
That is actually something I'm kind of hesitant on. Like whenever Yang gives that example of having Alaska paying dividends out of the oil revenue, I just feel like that's natural resource, and Yang has compared like data as the new natural resources of the 21st century to, like, as a technology person, like I could kind of understand that, but at the same time it just feels so different. Like I have, like, even for me, I'm having a hard time to making that connection still today. So
well, okay, but the money is transformative, regardless if we agree with the morality of cashing in our environmental well-being for those revenues.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard I did a interview for the Moving Forward podcast with Zoltan, who's running as a Republican pro UBI, but he's sort of pro this, like, and it was really late at night, so I didn't really push back on it, but we're going to actually talk about it on that podcast. He's basically for a land dividend, American freedom land dividend of fucking awesome, whatever the fuck it's called. But it basically means he wants to chop up the rest of the landmass of the American continent and chop it up for leases and have that go into a dividend. So like it's all like perfectly extractionist.
Like land?
Yes. Like not parks or whatever. Like he excludes parks because he's a mensch. But like literally
that is a Trojan horse.
It's insane, right?
Because federal lands are not just parks, but they are still important to the environmental viability of a region.
And that's the thing. Like
immediately, I'm reading Peter Mathiassen's The Spirit of Crazy Horse, which is about the American Indian movement in the 70s, particularly Leonard Peltier, who's sitting in prison for life for the murder of 2 FBI agents. It's not even clear that he was actually present on the day that it happened. But we tend to, when you think about the Standing Rock protesters in the past 4 years about water and oil pipelines going across native land, we think of that as a new fight. But the reality is that the 1868 Laramie Treaty that the U.S. government made with the natives was designed to protect them from people seeking gold by going into the Black Hills looking for gold and other minerals. Right, there were water fights there in the 40s over uranium, because uranium mining requires massive amounts of groundwater, and so that's what they did. They started chipping away at those reservation lands in a perfectly legal way. And I like anything that has that kind of thing attached to it. We're going to use federal lands and give giant leases. We live along the Gulf of Mexico, one of the most vulnerable coasts in America for oil production. Nope, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with not just the Everglades, which is a national park, but the 1,000 square miles around the Everglades. Everything that happens in that zone affects, a unique and pristine wilderness, and that's not okay.
The thing
that's like capitalism to the extreme.
Right. And if Zoltan, like he was the head of the Transhumanist Party. He's, the best part of that podcast was us talking about AI and automation trends and that, because he's like gets that, right? Knows what CRISPR is, that kind of thing. But that guy didn't think to maybe tax technology. no. Mining rights. That's what we need to do. Like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Yeah, like, and it didn't occur to me till afterward. The entire plan for his UBI ignores the one main reason why we're going to need it. And Andrew Yang, of course, leads with that. So,
yeah, I think the argument like against taxing technology and innovation is just you might stifle innovation. And as someone again who like works in technology sector, and have friends that do work in technology sector, like I could see that argument being hammered on quite heavily, because when you start, like computer code doesn't discriminate against, regions. So if America is going to tax like technology innovations, then they just go to Ireland or where the corporate tax is 0 and just hold out all the patents, which is what they're doing right now.
Right. No, that's exactly how it works. But you know what a VAT tax is, though, right? So a VAT tax is any.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the thing. Any transaction that happens in America, the on the markup, right? So if you sell an ad that costs you no money to make, or whatever that your marginal cost is on it, and then whatever you charge for it, that difference, let's say it costs you $1 for the server or whatever, yada yada, and you're charging $10, they're going to charge you 10% on the $9 or whatever, right? So. And again, there could absolutely be waivers for startups and that kind of thing, but the runaway technologies, Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, these things that are behemoths and that are only going to get much, much, much bigger, right? The alternative would be to not tax them and then pay for UBI, and again, whether that's an entirely automated factory, which is where Elon Musk is going, and where honestly all industry is going, right? Human beings are not required for this anymore, right? So
automating, like people just keep thinking, oh well, they just moved the factory to China, but China is actually one of the places that are automating the fastest.
Yeah, which is like, what's their fucking plan, right? Like they
they will. Thankfully, they are a technically communist society, so they're probably gonna like
never gonna run out of workers.
Basic needs of the people, but other than that, like subsistence, like that's what like the. Like giving free food and free healthcare, and you don't give people a way to get out of it. Where something like UBI, where you could take that capital, you could like save up. Like, okay, in a very extreme example, be like, okay, I'm not gonna eat 3 meals a day. I'll eat 2 a day, and whatever money I save that with, I could go start a business, right?
Right. Well, and it's not welfare. So if you're making $1,000, like if you have your basics covered, right? Never mind if it's $1,000 a month or whatever. If you have your basics covered and you're making $50 a month doing a podcast, but you're pretty sure if you worked really hard at it, you could grow it over 3 years.
Yep.
You could do it. And also, like, that's the only reason why Greg and I can do this, because we're in situations where that's kind of sort of more or less the case, right? For us, we just want that for everyone else, right? And so that you can do whatever iteration you want to do, whether it's I
guess my good counter argument for high taxes stifling innovation would be that the highest tax rates we ever had in this country were post World War II, and marginal tax rates were enormously high, and we developed enough scientists and engineers to put people on the fucking moon, right? Who were not stifled by technology innovation by high tax rates then. And I understand the world's different than it was then.
I think that tax rates then, though, were also progressive, right? So even on even corporate taxes were progressive. So having a situation where the 10% VAT is cycled in over a certain amount of time, like a certain amount of time, so that companies like Discussions have that time to get up to the point where they have $1 million in revenue before it really starts hitting them, something like that, right? Either way, those are problems that can be solved on the innovative side, that it will still make sure that we're taking and redistributing, frankly, enough from the top end, which is getting heavy. So
the really great Chris Hayes Why Is This Happening podcast about universal healthcare, he talked to the person that developed the model for the state of Michigan, which works. And it works because the taxes are progressively higher for the top 1 or 1.5% of companies in Michigan. And that's who pays for universal healthcare for everybody down to the poorest people. So, that's who gets taxed, not small startups, but people that have already reached the stratosphere. Yeah.
So I got to break in.
What? Yeah.
So this is Lev Parnas showing up at the fucking U.S. Senate
Holy shit.
Wow.
Is he,
He's
is
like,
he gonna go inside? Like,
I don't know. So he's outside of the U.S. Senate right here. Hey, what's going on? Just left Parnas outside.
So what was the reasoning
that this guy? You know, like when first he came out, Trump said like, I don't know this guy. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, you don't know me. I'm gonna release a picture every
Yeah.
single time you say
Right.
you don't know me.
So Greg actually did this thing on So Local on Facebook where he did, I think, like 85 pictures, like fucking every picture you could find, which was really funny.
And not just with Trump, with Pam Bondi, with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, with Mike Huckabee, with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, with everybody. So what's the reasoning they were giving that he wouldn't be let in?
Because you're not allowed electronics in, and he's got an ankle monitor on.
Is that the only
I see.
argument, really?
And he asked the judge if he could get a waiver for it, and the judge said no. So he's just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go hang out." Like, what
So
the hell?
maybe the goal here is to try to get forced admittance. That's interesting.
I
Get
guess,
denied
just
entry
like,
and then make an
why
issue out
not?
of it.
Never gonna admit him. Like John Bolton, I could see, but there's no chance that he's gonna be. called.
No, I think
as a witness, no, I don't think so.
and it's not, it's not like he's credible, but that's the thing. Like every single person that hung out with Trump is incredible. And think about this.
I'm not convinced he's not a Russian agent. I'm not convinced that he's not he's not Putin's man.
And so the reason we say that, go ahead, Jacques.
I wonder what his motivation is. Like he's obviously, if he does good favor with the government, like he
Yeah.
later, but still,
That's all he wants. He's trying to make the Southern District of New York look kindly on him, and also maybe get attention, and also maybe just fuck things up for fun because he's still getting paid by Firtash, who's a Russian oligarch connected to the DRU. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. This is messy. This is very messy.
I just don't want us to mistake Lev Parnas for a hero.
Yes,
I think he's afraid for his life, and I think the more visible he is, the less likely it is the Russians will be able to kill him.
That
Or
is
someone.
one of the more credible things I've ever heard.
That's crazy.
Wow. Okay. I just want to give shout out to Justin Amash. Donald Trump said, for a guy who couldn't get approved for the ambassador to the UN years ago, Bolton, who he then hired as ambassador to the UN, couldn't get approved for anything since, begged me for a non-Senate approved job, which I gave him despite him saying, don't do it, sir, takes the job. Mistakenly says Libyan model on TV, yada, yada, because, he can talk about other people saying dumb things. Justin Amash said, the president repeatedly hires people he claims no one else would hire due to their incompetence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Justin Amash.
Yeah.
Fucking hero.
Jareen, thank you. Jareen says, Greg, your TikTok about the Pam Bondi thing was so good yesterday. Well, thank you very much. I'm learning how to TikTok, and it's going well, actually. Like within an hour yesterday, I figured out how to get it to work on my PC, which is where I do most of my stuff. And made a highly polished and produced 45-second news thing.
Yeah, so. Jacques, especially with the ambassador program, because we should talk about discussions a little bit. TikTok is taking over. And it's been a kid thing for a long time. Over the last 6 months, it now isn't, right? It definitely skews younger still, but there's 1.3 billion people on it, and only 40 and I think that's less now, but 40% of them are under 18. So that leaves, a good 900 million people in there. The organic reach is bananas. It's definitely a part of our strategy as of a couple of weeks ago. I got more views yesterday than I got in my entire first week, which is actually 8 times more than we have on our YouTube channel completely. Right. So it's huge. So having, and I want to talk to Kurt about this too, but having ways, especially with the ambassador situation, having ways to do any integration, whether it's even just having the ability to get a link and have it play sort of in line or however that stuff works, right? Where it plays nice. I think it's going to be really, really good, especially if they have an API. I don't know if they do or not, but if they have that kind of Twitter API where you can actually do the analytics and see that stuff, because what they're talking about doing, Greg, I don't know if we even talked about this. So you remember all the missions that we were doing with Chapelle, right? If you share this out, we'll give you a XYZ number of Chapelle or whatever. What they're building is you're going to be able to do a mission inside of discussions that's like preloaded with all of your things, right? So if you go out and share it and it's connected to your account, the payment in Chapelle automatically happens. You don't have to be there at all.
Interesting.
And and this is what the guys from Blockbase were talking about, because they're helping them with the integration of this stuff. It can also come down to the point where the amount of likes that gets and the amount of reach that you have. So as an influencer or something like that, it might actually start to play into like bonuses on those things. Again, all happens behind the scenes and all happens without any help from anyone else. So we're talking about doing a meme competition, like our little Chapelle clan for Jacques and discussions. So yeah, Jacques, do you want to maybe talk about a little bit about what you have in mind for that?
I mean, I just want to see some funny memes. We got some ammos to go around.
All right.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I enjoy the Yang memes. I enjoy the politics memes. Yeah.
So what are some of the themes that we get? Like Voice is going to get launched pretty soon.
Breaking news today. Actually, Voice came out with
and said, "Just kidding."
No.
Okay.
It actually came out like with the presentations they showed to the FTC.
Okay.
The SEC, sorry. They kind of go over what the system will look like. So we actually got a lot of information about how it actually worked today. So
Okay.
It is confirmed. It will definitely be KYC. So you have to provide government identity in order to get an account.
Right.
Some kind of identity verification. That was something that
Anal
people
probe.
were highly suspicious of.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because they're still talking about doing payment for likes and stuff, right? Like that the like they want to have it integrated so that EOS is
No, they're gonna have their own token. Gonna have a voice token.
Oh yeah, right. Because they're talking about maybe not even doing it on their own platform.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They say they got launched on the debate on a private chain, and then public chain's gonna, the public product will be on the public chain.
Right. So if you want to make some memes, we're actually going to go live in the Chapelle Basecamp after this to brainstorm that and talk about that. There's like 20,000 Atmos tokens online for surprises and stuff. And we definitely want to figure out and make sure we're posting these things. We're actually going to create, Greg, a #coffee thread group in discussions. So we're going to have like our own home over on discussions.app. And of course,
another app I get to learn how to use.
I know you're gonna
have enough of that going.
You'll be fine. It's primarily on PC anyway, so you'll feel right at home.
Right.
But if you post memes in our thread there, there's very likely going to be some tips in there. I'm going to be doing some Chapelle airdrops in there because I can suddenly again, which is really fun.
Nice.
That will definitely any change in your Chapelle amount before we do our fork, wherever we end up doing that. Is all going to come with you, right? So any Chapelle you make now is going to help you in whatever iteration we do down the road. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm thinking like David and Goliath things with Voice coming out, right? Like the David and Goliath kind of stuff. Anything sort of community themed, right? Because it really is about the token communities. I want to see some memes around that. And we'll do some more brainstorming.
Because I'm a complete novice. Who's David and who's Goliath in this equation?
Well, okay, so Voice has $4 billion behind it, and Discussions does not.
Okay, so an Attack on Titan meme,
right? And the way I see it too, like it's and I mean, I sort of feel like Voice. Even I think they're going to push some legal boundaries, which could be very, very good for both Discussions and Chirp. As far as cementing that kind of thing in the lexicon of how we do things. So that's going to be good. But I mean, they're also like really, really shitty at doing this, right? So like Chirp is already better than anything Voice has put out, even including the demo that they put out that never worked, or the video they put out. And Discussions is the same way, even though it's targeted to token communities like ours. It's actually got tools that people are going to want to use. Right? It's right off the bat. So I have this weird feeling that Voice is going to come out and just flop. Like it'll be $100 million fail, which will only be good for my two friends operating in the crypto social media space.
All right, guys. You know what? It's 11:30, and I got to wrap up here because I have some work stuff to get ready to do. So
all right.
Well, yeah. If I had UBI, I wouldn't have to go to work. That would be.
There you go. And then everyone will be like, "Oh, you're being lazy because we don't do shit 24 hours a day."
They say that anyway now.
That's true. They do.
So
that's true. So we'll see you guys on Friday, and then of course we'll see you on Sunday morning for the Church of Reason.
Yep, Church of Reason sermon in our Minecraft server, and if you don't have Minecraft Java, you can join us on YouTube. We will live stream it.
Yep.
Any thoughts on who you're going to feature this week in the Reason sermon?
I actually randomly heard another Carl Sagan thing that was really good, but I'm kind of going between that and, maybe going with some Stoics. But I also had this weird, and it sort of requires some participation that I'm not sure people are like. I'm hedging a little bit. But my gut's telling me to run through this kind of gratitude priming thing that Tony Robbins does. That's more of a mind hack habit thing that I think would be really good. So I'm tossing around a bunch of good ideas. None of them include God because we don't fucking need them.
Right. Eliminate the middleman.
Right. Exactly. It's fine.
That's where I live. Yeah. If the Sagan thing you're talking about is the bit from the Demon Haunted World that's making the rounds, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
What?
The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan.
I didn't know.
I thought maybe that was the quote that you were.
No.
There's a quote right now that's from that book, and it's an outstanding book.
Fair
It's
enough.
one of two books that I think gave me daylight to like think more about atheism. Right, I kind of felt like that's where I was ashamed of it, in the same way that I assume people that were closeted felt, and it made me aware that I could share my feelings and help other people see that it was okay, that they weren't going to burn in hell if they stepped away from that mess.
Yeah.
So
Fred Eater just said Sagan does a bit on Pale Blue Dot. I urge you to go find on this YouTube channel the sermon number 1, because we actually played it in its entirety, and the entire back wall of our cathedral is an entire mural that is actually the Pale Blue Dot that Greg made, and it looks fucking fantastic. Jock, if you feel like throwing the Java version of Minecraft on your computer, it would be really cool to have you actually in the cathedral when we do this.
Does it run on the Mac though?
It does.
Yeah,
we
Java
actually
version
had
runs on that. Yeah.
we had Fred Krueger in our Minecraft universe because we were talking to him about because we're talking about creating an economy in game. But apparently you can with the Minecraft API, you could actually link it to a cryptocurrency and have it work in game, right? So like be selling diamonds for XYZ church tokens. Also, we're making a church token because it's too funny not to. Like, I don't think we have a choice.
Oh no, that sounds great, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll talk about that off air. Yep. So apparently Parnas is going to court, and by court I mean
I'm gonna have to go watch
Senate.
some of that.
What
I'm
the
gonna have
hell,
that in the
man?
background while I'm getting ready to do my work stuff. But so here we are. Parnas is at the Senate, and Sasquatch is real.
All right. Bing bang boom. Oh no, I don't want to end the meeting. I want to stop the thing, which all you
Yeah,
people
we're
just
still here.
heard.